Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Good evening and welcome to the very quick chat show. Not now, Julian, I have my head in a bag of ants. An exciting and pert show that makes you wonder why you waste your time trying to knit dogs together when you could be out dancing on the graves of some local school teachers or having a quick one with a baguette round the back of the butcher's. On tonight's show, we have the Minister for stepping all over it like a bloody fool, Sir Morgan Pymscusset, broadly. And all the way from Turin, where she likes to shave the head off nearby goats using the tufts in a complex board game of her own devising, which when won, it is said the victor gets to fill up a bucket with the fluid of their own choosing and apply it to a distrustful aunt. Betty, what's in my truncheon? I don't like it. No, well, why would you? Okay, gentle persons and camels, our quick question for tonight is Mira Sorvino, yes, and why?
Well, I think we're looking correctly at the application of Mira Sorvino in a modern urban setting. One needs to consider the ramifications of overexposure to Mira Sorvino upkeep, the cost of Mira Sorvino, and so on. I would have to canvass the area rather thoroughly, dressed as Mira Sorvino, to see if anyone actually wants any of that.
I think the real shame here, if I could have my chance to speak, is that we even need to discuss Mira Sorvino at all. It's clearly just because she's a woman. Would we equally sit here and discuss Paul Sorvino in the same terms? I think not. Probably because you'll all be far too busy pleasuring yourself to images of Terence Trent D'Arby in a bath. I think that the key thing to remember here is more women, less men, and much, much, much less Terence Trent D'Arby.
Okay, but I have to respectfully disagree. I don't really have a point to make here, but I do have these figures written down, and apparently 56% of people say there's too much Lou Diamond Phillips, 17.5% of doctors claim that we need to cut out Ethan Hawke altogether, and all climate scientists but two agree that we have just about reached our Brooke Shields limit. Panellists, your mindless blather, please.
Well, of course, we've been talking about this in the House of Commons and have quite reasonably decided to have a jolly good drink instead and maybe a game of cribbage or 5. I remember Winston Churchill did the same thing back in 1941 with a small boy who used to polish his braces with a velveteen painting of Her Royal Highness the Duke of Clarence, and that saw us through some of our darkest times. Till that old woman who handled the cutlery paid our electricity bill. Wonderful things women can be trained to do, really.
I would just like to say that any disparaging remarks about Brooke Shields have offended me greatly, and later I will be getting very angry indeed on a CNN panel about the fact that women don't get equal place on news panels anymore. Then much later I'll be giving that little elven chappie, Wolf Blitzer, a jolly good seeing to. I like to call him my sex gnome, and me his dirty ale wench.
Well, thank you. And to play us out, the grunts and wheezes of our panellists arm wrestling while Herbie Gottenstrasser and the Tiny Ostrich Band soil themselves into some large brass objects. Good night.
You're going down. I'm taking you down. A sodding one.
And now on Radio Flange Goblet, it's the After Movie Diner, which is not unlike listening to your uncle wrestle a Labrador through a length of garden tubing while a chaffinch tells you dirty Jewish jokes and makes you feel insecure about the size of your glands. Pinch it, pinch it, pinch it, tighter, tighter, tight. There you go. Hi, hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the After Movie Diner. And what a fantastic episode we have for you today. It's so wonderful to be back, and we have got a spectacular show for you. We are going back down south, the East Coast, to the wonderful state of Maryland, and that sweet, sweet, sweet city by the bay, Baltimore. I don't know if Baltimore's by a bay. I don't really care. But it's a wonderful, wonderful town, and I love it to bits because of the spectacular movies that come out of it. Just some of the best actors, writers, directors, and all-round movies come out of Baltimore at the moment. And if you're not digging on the Baltimore indie scene, well, that is what we are here for. The film we're talking about tonight is Swarm of the Snakehead, which is an awesomely funny and awesomely well put together monster movie, and that is coming up soon. We've got the writer and we've got the actor, who are both also producers, and in fact one of them's also a director, coming up on the show very soon. And we have Baltimore resident and local indie aficionado, none other than Dr. Robert Long, who will be joining us for his first full feature-length After Movie Diner episode. Fantastic to have him on the show. Now, before we get to those wonderful people, and indeed this fantastic film, which you can purchase, please look for the purchase link in the show notes when this goes up online. Before we get to that, however, I wish to urge everybody to rate and review our show. I've been doing this for about the last 4 or 5 shows, and we've got a couple of reviews and a couple of ratings. They've been really fantastic. I would like to especially give a shout out to Dean York, who did a really, really good review just recently, but not enough for my liking. So if we could do a rating and review this week, please, can we do that? Go to iTunes, go to Stitcher, go to TalkShoe, go to aftermoviediner.com and find the links for all those places there, and just rate and review us. Now, if you don't want to write a review, if you don't have time to write out words, which, I can understand, writing a sentence out on a keyboard these days, that can take forever. I understand how difficult that is for some of you leading so incredibly busy lives. But, however, you can just go to all those sites, Stitcher, TalkShoe, and iTunes, and just rate us with one click of the mouse. You'll see on all those websites that there are star meters that go up to 5. Just click, just one click like this, like that, and there you go. You are done. You have rated the show, and each rating really does help us in the grand scheme of things, and each review does really help us in the grand scheme of things. So it's also a free way to support the show. You don't have to buy a t-shirt, you don't have to donate, both of which you can do if you want to. However, this is a free way to support the After Movie Diner and to keep us going. Nothing like a good old morale boost here at Diner Towers, and we sure could use one right about now. So please rate and review the show. iTunes, Stitcher, TalkShoe. Type in After Movie Diner. Go there. One click of the mouse. You have given us a rating, and that is it. It couldn't be easier. Couldn't be simpler. Couldn't be shorter for you. I mean, really, if you can't manage to do that, then I don't know what worth you are, really. In the world. Of course not. You're worth plenty. You're listening to the show right now. And each one of you is a perfect and delightful snowflake. And I love each of you broadly and with a lot of rubbing. Okay, so with that business out of the way, let us go over to the interview now, where we have Seth Hurwitz, who is the writer and producer of Swarm of the Snakehead, and Frank Lama, who is the director, the producer, and the star of Swarm of the Snakehead. And both gentlemen are absolutely fantastic, wonderfully talented, and give us a great conversation. So please do enjoy that. That's coming up right now. So it's lovely today. We're getting a chance to talk to the fantastic filmmakers behind Swarm of the Snakehead. And we've got on the line Frank Lama, who he directed and starred and produced the picture, along with Seth Hurwitz, who is the writer and producer. And we have them both on the show today. Fellas, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for being here.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, John, for speaking with us about our labor of love.
Yeah, and I think it was well worth it, because as I was saying before we started to record, it's a fantastic film. I enjoyed it immensely. So so Frank, first of all, sort of when did you first kind of get the acting, movie making bug?
Oh, geez, I've had the acting, movie making bug since I was little, since I was a child. My brothers, I have 3 younger brothers. We were always, pretending to be in adventure films and things, running around in my little hometown in Canada, and trying to recreate scenes from the television shows that we liked in movies and things, cowboys, Indians, Army, all of that. And then in high school, I started going out for plays and things, and really got into it. And ever since then, did shows, a lot of theater. I've done almost 100 theater productions every year. So I would do a show every year. And we did The Elephant Man in high school, and a couple of other kind of Canadian plays. And then once I was in university, started doing additional shows, and then working through my college years in Toronto, doing a lot of extra work, getting on some films that were shot there in Toronto, and making the rounds as a young actor in Toronto, not really getting much, and then started doing theater in the States, and finally decided that I was going to pursue my dream of making a film, and that's how I met Seth.
And yeah, Seth, you're obviously the writer of the picture and producer. When did you first get that bug, and when did you start writing? Was it always for movies?
Well, I always tried to write different kinds of things, short stories, poetry, and I studied poetry. I went to graduate school for that. And then I was writing scripts for a while and just pitching them, and wasn't getting very far, a couple of awards and things like that, but nothing really sort of getting close to being made. And so we actually found this project. It was kind of staggering along locally here in Baltimore, and I got hired as a writer on it. Wrote a treatment, wrote a script, and then when we were casting, Frank came in, and he was brilliant, as he shows, I think, in the movie.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, he was just wonderful. And so we cast him, and then as the project kind of started to fall apart, Frank and I decided that we thought we could produce the film, which was, a lot of naivete, and, I guess it in some ways worked out.
It was really just such a fantastic script that, when I got it and read it, I was so excited to read for that role of Delhay, because I just laughed out loud when I read the script, and I had read many scripts. At that time, I was working with a film producing partner of mine and a screenwriting producer, a friend of mine in Chicago and one in New York, and we were trying to get movies made, pitching projects and talking to folks in Hollywood. And then this project came along, and as an actor, I was reading it, and I said, I've just got to do this show. And as Seth said, when it became available, he and I put our heads together and bought the project and decided to make it. I just knew that I could find the locations that were in that screenplay. At the time I was living in Easton, Maryland, on the Eastern Shore, and I just would walk around my little hometown and other little towns that I knew nearby, and I go, I know we can get this location, and we can shoot this here, and I know that we can make this movie here in Maryland. So we took the plunge, so to speak, and got started making the movie.
Yeah. No, it's one of the things, because obviously that certainly lately, in fact, probably almost post-Snakehead, there's been this boom in creature features. Roger Corman is now doing them again. The Sci-Fi Channel is doing them again. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Asylum, companies like that are pumping them out. And where I feel, and I've even read other reviews of this online saying a similar thing, so it wasn't just my experience, but where I feel something like Snakehead stands out against these is, rather than saying, okay, the cheesy premise of this monster flick is going to be enough for people to kind of laugh at the film in that horrible way that people do. They kind of laugh at B-movies ironically now, which I'm not a fan of doing. That what you guys did was you wrote a script where you're laughing with the film. The characters are genuinely funny, well-drawn characters. They've got great one-liners, things like, oh, we'll split it down the middle 70-30, and the whole coffee bit with I don't drink coffee and it's okay I don't have coffee, all that kind of stuff. You put in the script, you built in the script at the beginning a sense of humor, which actually is to the film's strength and just makes it play all that much better as a genuine creature feature rather than these laugh at the movies. And so was that always your intention? Was it always like to offset, the fact that it's a creature feature with the humor, or is that just what you like in movies in general?
I think that's a great question. That's very perceptive. And I think the tone of the film, to some extent, those films that you're mentioning that kind of, just rely on the initial premise, I find those kind of dissatisfying. And so I felt like there's an opportunity in this film to have some interesting characters. I don't want to say that that there's a kind of a meta feeling about it, but I think in a way, we've seen a lot of these movies, and so we were looking for a way to make it a little more interesting. And, and I don't want to underestimate or the ability of the actors, I think, to sort of pull it off. I think, Frank was a great director working with the actors. As a really talented actor, he was able to give people space and to give them a lot of help, I think. And even, some of the people we have in the film have done a lot of work, but some of the people were newer, particularly the kids. And Frank was so great working with them that really, I think, some of those lines really would not have worked if the acting wasn't as good as it was. So really, for me, I mean, the concept was really important, and trying to flesh out the characters and make it a little more interesting. But also, it just, the acting really pulls it off, makes it work. I think.
I'm so glad that you saw the film in the spirit in which it was meant to be seen, John, because I grew up watching Saturday afternoon creature movies, as many people did, and this is really an homage with a wink to those pictures, and the sense of fun that Seth created the story with, and the lines, the wit, the allusions that he makes in the screenplay needed to be played with verve and a sense of fun and a sense of satire and farce that once the actors were kind of tuned into that and that they were supposed to be having fun with this, they naturally rose to the challenge, and I think we got some great performances out of some new actors that are really quite charming, and to me that's what makes the film accessible, is that it's not self-serious, and it's not it doesn't solely rely on the premise. It's not Sharknado,
right,
or Piranha
exactly.
3D, right, or even the other Snakehead film that was made during, actually at the same time we were making ours, they were making the sci-fi version, and that's a very straightforward horror picture. Fish that walk on land and are man-eating fish that walk on land and can breathe air is a funny concept in and of itself.
No,
right?
completely. Yeah, of course.
Right. So we weren't going to try and make something that was self-serious and pretending to purport, to be anything remotely close to reality. We were trying to make the Gremlins version of Snakehead. So we had a lot of fun, and it was great. It was a great challenge.
The Gremlins vibe definitely came across. I mean, no more than when the fish is kind of laughing at the wanted poster in the sheriff's office. That's a real sort of Gremlins 2 moment almost. It's almost like a Gremlins 2 moment. And no, that definitely came across, and I think, like I say, it just helped the movie where you by undercutting it with real obvious comedy and done really well. Yeah, the acting's great. So how did you kind of, and the comic timing is phenomenal. I mean, that scene you have where you come out of the fridge and the little girl, where you have that whole back and forth about the car, and you say, well, the car's in LA, and the girl just smacks her forehead. If that had been off. If the comic timing of her hitting her forehead had been off even a little bit, it wouldn't have worked as well. It would have worked, but it wouldn't have worked as well. So how did you compile the actors, and what was the process of kind of getting the film put together with them?
Well, to be honest, I can't really take very much credit for Maggie Denning's talent. She is a natural.
Yes.
And was ever since the first moment she got on screen. So really, as somebody who was naturally comedic, she was great to work with. We just practiced it, ran it a couple of times. Luckily, that was shot in the basement of my own house. Yeah. And we had a refrigerator that was already down there. Seth wrote it to the basement, right. And we just improvised it a little bit, and ran through it. And the girls, Maggie and Lizzie and Jamie O'Brien, were all just brilliant to work with. They were true consummate professionals, and really, once that little bubble of confidence, right, was created, they found the courage to try new things and to really put themselves out there. And Seth's editing job was fantastic. He found those little moments in the footage and created that timing that you enjoy in the picture in so many different ways.
Right.
Seth was able to find great performance moments and pull together our picture in a way that was really, really entertaining.
Well, I remember shooting that scene, and we were all. It was a special day that day in the basement with the refrigerator. I mean, there were a lot of days on that set, and sometimes, it was a pretty skeleton crew, and it's hot. It's hard to run lights. This is my first time working on a low budget film, so I'm writing stuff that's out in the woods in the dark, thinking that not thinking about generators and audio, and that we're shooting on 16 millimeter with short reels. So it's you don't have a lot of time, and there's not a lot of takes, and but that was a special day. I just remember that, Frank, you were making everybody laugh the whole day, and it was a long day, but it was a lot of fun. That was one of the high points of me of that experience. So,
well, it's a rule of Baltimore indie filmmaking that you have to have a scene in a basement. I think that's been laid down from time immemorial, which is perfect. And also, and I mean that with like all sincerity. I'm a big Dohler freak, so I mean.
Oh yeah. We love Baltimore's unique character.
Yes.
And Maryland's unique character, and I want to see more of it. I want to see more of Baltimore as Baltimore and less of it as a backdrop for DC, doubling as DC or doubling as Philly or doubling as New York.
Right.
I think there's a real flavor to Baltimore that, as a transplanted Baltimorean, right?
Yes.
I'm originally from Canada, but Baltimore is my adopted second home.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think of myself as a son of Baltimore. To some extent, it's got a character, and it's kitschy, and it's a little creepy, and it's basements and old churches and rundown streets and delis and all the different neighborhoods. All are places to be enjoyed, I think, in Baltimore.
Oh yeah, and I think there's just a fantastic film collective down there. Lots of great directors and film writers who are putting together all different genres and all different styles, and it's a pleasure coming at it through Don's work and then expanding and seeing this film and Chris Lamatina's work and Eric Myers and I have
exactly. Don is really the godfather of the horror genre in Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
I've got the 2 Fear of Clown movies as well. That's the next couple I'm going to take a look at. So I'm looking forward to that. And talking about the girls in it, of course, Joel Denning, who is the real father of two of the girls, plays the father in the movie. He also helped co-direct the film. What was that like?
That's correct. Yeah, the film had 2 directors, Joel and myself. Now, originally Joel was the director of the film until our father, the actor who was going to play the father, bowed out because the project had some troubling times, many actually, but early on, and we had cast who was that guy? He was a radio personality. Local radio personality who was cast as the father. And he was kind of, the young, sexy dad, right? And he bowed out. And Seth and I talked and thought that Joel would be perfect as the father. He fit the role in a different way. And so we cast Joel because he was going to be there with the girls, and he was going to be able to work with the girls on their lines, and they'd be able to practice. And I felt that he would bring a sense of authenticity to the role. So we cast him, and when we cast him, I started directing much more not only producing but acting, and then also directing while Joel was on camera. So when I was on camera, Joel would direct, and when Joel was on camera, I would direct, and we really directed the picture together. Less and less for him as the picture went on, because he had other commitments, and it was a very, very long production process. And it was we produced it in my area on the Eastern Shore, in Easton and Oxford and St. Michael's. So he became less and less of the director and more of a pure talent in the picture. But yeah, we share directing credit on it.
And so what was the inspiration, Seth, to initially write the movie? And I understand from your comments earlier you were involved in it before Frank came on board. So how long was sort of the production process from sort of having the idea to it eventually coming out?
Well, Joel had just come off, I think, another Don Dohler picture, Alien Factor 2, I guess, although it's gone through a couple title changes, I think. So he was I'm not sure he was shooting on that, or he was doing something. Maybe. Yeah,
he was the cinematographer on Alien Factor 2. Yeah. But, that's our connection to Don Dohler is through Joel, right, as well as through Rob. Right, who's been a big fan of Don Dohler for many, many years, and also working with Leanna Chamish as well. We tried to put as many Baltimore local legends in the picture as we could. You know, Leanna Chamish, wonderful actress. I've worked with her a few times, and she's a well-known talent in the area.
George Stover.
As well as George Stover, we were able to get in. Yeah, he didn't make it into that final cut, but he was great to work with.
Well, he's in a tiny little clip with the cat being waved in his face, wearing the costume that he wears in Steaks. I mean, I'm a big George and Leanna nut. I mean, I just a huge
they're
fan
great.
Of them. And they're almost, if you're making a film in Maryland at all, you have to have them in it. It's almost law.
Yes.
Well, that's what I felt. That's exactly what I felt. Is you're making a film in a horror film in Maryland, you've got to have Leanna and George. And when Rob and I did our couple of episodes of Smash or Trash TV, I had a chance to interview both of them, and they are just lovely.
Yeah, I did see that, Frank. Yeah, I think that's when I sort of first became aware of yourself, and then I sort of looked into those movies with Rob's help and stuff. And of course, George, he goes all the way back to John Waters' earliest movies. And a comment on your film was that it was sort of very John Waters-esque in its way. Not quite as much the sort of sexual stuff in it, but certainly the sense of humor of it. Yes,
right. Yeah. I think it's the irreverence towards the genre that is John Waters-esque, and also just the fact that we're not afraid to lampoon staples of a genre or really go over the top. You know, Johnny Alonso had worked on a John Waters film as well, and he figures in our picture as well. Yeah. So we have another connection to John Waters there.
But so I was reading online. It sort of took about 3 or 4 years to kind of put together. So was that just to get all the actors in, and was that to just do with lining up schedules, or what were the challenges of putting that together over that length of time?
Well, really, we were working at the time. You know, we didn't. Looking back, had we done it differently, we would have crammed it all into a 3-month shoot.
Right.
But we didn't. At the time, I was working full time, and we were really shooting only on weekends. So it's that classic kind of indie scheduling of taking a couple of years. And we also had to break for winter a couple of times.
Right.
Couldn't shoot exteriors during the wintertime. And just getting schedules lined up. We had busy kids who were in school, and people that were trying to make a living, and making this movie part time. You know, it's the Dead Alive school of filmmaking. You know?
Oh yeah, completely.
baking the special effects in your own oven and taking 3 years to shoot something, it was grueling. Yeah.
Oh, we should mention, now that you mentioned special effects, we should mention Steve Tolan, who did all the all the Snakehead puppets and did an amazing job on that. And that was really one of his first, I think, bigger jobs. And he was just recently, I don't think he got very far, but he was just on a reality show doing special effects. Because I didn't see the episode. I would have watched it if he had made it further, but I think he only made it to the first or second episode. But it was sort of like, here's the assignment. Your team makes the best thing and moves on to the next one. So, but he's a super talented guy in Pittsburgh. And his wife Erica Heiberg plays Mimi, who you may remember from the picture as the beauty queen, the local town, the small town beauty queen.
Yes,
that's Steve's wife, and she's very funny as well.
Oh, she's fantastic, and she unfortunately obviously gets mixed up with your character.
Well, they're a match made in Hollywood.
Yeah, of course.
They both want to try, and that's what I love about Seth's script is that. You cast these two minor characters and place them together in cahoots with one another, and they're both not terribly bright, but very ambitious, and they get into all kinds of trouble. So,
yes, the trouble is she believes your hype, or your character's hype, rather. And about the puppets, the thing that really sold it to me when I saw the puppets was. When you have that shot where the puppet narrows its eyes, for some reason, it's one thing when you see a puppet and it's just obviously opening and shutting its mouth. That's one thing. But then the narrowing of the eye makes it believable. I don't know why, but it was just that little detail that really then just kind of sold it to you, and you can then kind of suspend disbelief and go with it. And then the mixing of that with the CG was wonderful. And I wanted to ask Seth, obviously you edit the picture and so on. What was the post-production like on it? What were the challenges of that?
It was challenging. We shot it on 16 millimeter and transferred it to Digibeta, and then I edited it from not from Digibeta. So that whole process was challenging, and we weren't really using state-of-the-art equipment. We have newer stuff now, but back then it was sometimes even hard to watch stuff in real time because you have a lot of data flowing in or whatever, and so that was difficult. We had a couple of different guys doing the CG. I guess our primary artist was a guy named Sheldon Drake, who lives in Berlin, and he did a lot of this stuff, this sort of exterior, the bigger stuff, the masses of Snakehead approaching the house, the big sort of explosion at the end, all that stuff.
The big blast wave from the tower at the end is Sheldon's. And then we had the model itself was created by an artist out in Los Angeles who actually now works for Disney. And his name is John Finch. And he was super excited to help us with this. We were introduced to him through a pair of very talented filmmakers out in Burbank, Billy Jones and his partner at 310 Studios, who did a lot of work for video games. So we got hooked up with John Finch. We sent a model out to him, and he was able to digitize it and turn it into a 3D model that we used extensively for the creation of several of the scenes in the picture. And then also we had a friend of mine, Mark, I can't remember, I believe his last name is Cross, who works at NASA and was an animator for NASA and was able to create the underwater sequences for us using some of NASA's render nodes on part-time.
Yeah.
So we had a number of people that's really one of the great triumphs of the picture is just the sheer number and quality of people that were involved throughout the lifespan of the picture. Just really, really talented people. And I can't, fail to mention Kevin Hill, who was an absolute genius in solving what seemed like insurmountable sound engineering issues that we had with the picture, because this film was really film school for Seth and I.
Yeah.
And so, we were running around shooting on 16 millimeter. Bruce Geisert, who was our cinematographer, was shooting on 16 millimeter. We were using generators to run the lights, and we were not capturing usable sound on the set. So we had to really dub the entire picture. Kevin was instrumental in recreating the soundscape of the various locations, everything down to clicks and walks and gurgles and snapping of branches and things, as well as engineering the score. And that score, which is so fantastic, I'm going to let Seth speak to that because he worked so closely with Kevin on the final, all throughout the mix and engineering of the sound.
Yeah, it's
and
a
then
great
also
score.
the score as well. Yeah, I'm really proud of what Seth and Kevin were able to do with the score. So, Seth, do you want to talk about that?
I would say. First of all, I wouldn't say the whole thing is ADR. It's probably 75% ADR. And we had guide audio for almost everything. But, we were using a couple different cameras. Some of them were noisy. So even when it was during the day, you weren't always getting great sound. And Kevin has, this was probably... When we first started working on this film with Kevin, it was probably one of the bigger projects for him. He's since gone on to do a ton of amazing work, and the last thing that I know that he just finished was the new Eduardo Sanchez movie about Bigfoot. So he has sort of gone on to some greater heights. I'm very excited to see that movie. I love Bigfoot.
He was the sound engineer on The Lovely Mollies. I don't know if you're familiar with that horror picture. That was an Edward Sanchez film that went to... I think limited release.
Oh, okay.
Limited theatrical. It was premiered at TIFF in Toronto 2 years ago.
Nice.
And Edward Sanchez, I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's one of the creators of the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So Kevin has gone on to quite large projects, really, and cut his teeth in film on our little picture, and did a great job doing so.
I was going to say you'd never know. I mean, there were maybe a couple of lines where the mouth doesn't quite match, but I mean, apart from that, in fact, I just spent the day yesterday watching some old 80s Italian movies that were all dubbed, so I didn't notice at all. But
some Dario Argento.
Yeah, we watched some Argento. We watched some.
You'll enjoy talking to Kevin Kangas then. If you've, I don't know, have you seen Garden of Eden?
No, not yet. I have a stack, Frank. I mean, I'd be embarrassed to tell you, I have a huge stack of movies that Robert has either sent me or I like with Snakehead, I purchased online for myself, and it's getting around to sitting down and watching everything.
Sure.
But I've got that one. I've got a couple of other earlier Chris LaMartina movies. I've got a bunch of the Lee Dole stuff, and I've got the Fear of Clowns and. Something else as well.
Kevin Kangas pictures,
yeah. I mean, Kangas is the next sort of the next filmmaker I need to acquaint myself with, because obviously I'm one of the reviewers on Eric Myers' Roulette DVD cover, which is fantastic, and he's getting great nods on that. And and then the Kevin Kangas is like the next one. I'm just there's so much there in Baltimore and trying to acquaint myself with it all in between working. Doing my other shows and everything else, I'm very busy all the time. So,
well, we're glad you're paying us some attention, because we are very proud of the Maryland filmmaking scene. And as you've rightly suspected, we've got a lot of talented people that are very passionate and committed to making films in the area.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, sorry, Seth, you were going to talk about the score.
Oh, great. Okay, yes. Well, the composer is named Tom Alonso, and he's a Baltimore composer. He has done some other score work. The name of there was a film in the 80s, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, and I can't, but he did this very interesting, very synthy kind of score for that, which is totally different for us. But Tom Alonso, I knew him because he was in a band in the 80s that was very big locally. They never made it nationally, although I think they got close a couple of times, called Boot Camp. And Tom played keyboards for them, but he sort of went on to do other things. And for the score for us, he really went as many people did who worked on this film, he went above and beyond. Ended up bringing in people from the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra to play on it. Did a lot of stuff, not synth stuff. A lot of real recording of actual
Bong and
instruments.
O'Donnell. Bong and Donnell. And Tusks. Where Tommy Tusks was Thomas.
That's
Pickard.
right. Yeah. That's right. Who was the lead actor in that?
That was John Rhys Davies.
Right, exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. From the Indiana.
Yeah, you would know him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. In any case, Tom did just an unbelievable job. Spent a lot of time. The edit would change a little bit, and he would, which he was upset about. We were really organizing it the best way, and we couldn't get something. We had to change something, and he was great with us and very patient. And I love the score. I still listen to the score without watching the movie just to hear his music.
Yeah, and that's another feature of Baltimore independent films is that, again, going all the way back to Alien Factor and stuff, the scores are great, whether it's a synth score or a keyboard score or something, or whether it's, in this case, an orchestra one. And you mix it, because there's two things going on here. Three. I mean, there's the great sound design. You've got the great symphony score, and then you've got all these local bands, which is always great when you can kind of put the local music and the local movies together. And they really give you that kind of great B-movie songs to kind of put in it. There's some that are like 50s rockabilly tinged, and there's some heavier ones that are more sort of modern for the younger actors and younger characters in the film. So talk about kind of getting all those together, all those different bands together.
Well, I've been involved, I guess, in the music scene here for a long time, and some of those people I knew before and knew the songs that I wanted to put in the film and was really thinking about music when we were working on the script. And then some people just, you find things that are perfect. I, sent out calls to find songs for certain things, and they would come in and they'd be perfect. Some of my favorite stuff on there, we have a Winger song, which was pretty cool, trying to get a hold of Kip Winger and getting him to say he would let us use the song.
Sure.
I don't know if you were ever a big fan of hair metal in the 80s, but they were always one of my favorite bands, and he was really cool, and that was a great song for us. We had a couple of songs from Tom's old band, Boot Camp, which I always loved. I always thought they should have been much more popular, and it was great to have them in the film. And then there was a band called Last Picture Show in Baltimore. Then again, Baltimore, we've had a couple of artists sort of break out and become big, of course. I guess Tori Amos was here for a while, and others. But probably like a lot of cities, we have a scene here that doesn't really get a whole lot of national attention. So I felt like there were a lot of great bands here that we could use and that would fit the sort of feel of the movie. And like Frank was saying, I mean, it's a nod to the 80s, that there were always great songs in 80s movies. They were always, the soundtracks was always a selling point. So I just thought that for us, we really should try to replicate that as best we could. So that's how we ended up with a lot of those songs on the film.
Yeah, and it really adds to the professionalism of the final product. There's a lot of especially with the Baltimore films, there's that nice sort of finished quality to it. I know that sounds, you see a lot of like indie films that they're finished. In other words, they have beginning credits and end credits, but it doesn't necessarily always mean that they hang together well. And
sure,
the post-production on this is really was phenomenal and instrumental in making it such a nice tight package and selling what work you've done with the acting and the script, because obviously that's the most important is to sell the work you guys did on that. So obviously talk about putting together the rest of the cast. Obviously, you've got the great Lisa Burdett; she's fantastic, and Jamie Lynn O'Brien, who was really great as kind of a kid actor, a teenage actor, and then obviously mention about getting Gunnar Hansen in the film as well.
Yeah, that was that was interesting and kind of a nice, like many things on the picture, a nice little bit of happenstance. A friend of mine in Easton, Maryland. Actually, he lived in Oxford, where we shot a lot of the picture. Steve Clyburn was Gunnar Hansen's roommate in college.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's
this
great.
friend of mine who writes management books and is a management consultant, and I had done shows with, happened to mention that when he found out that I was making this horror picture, he goes, "Oh, my roommate in college was Gunnar Hansen," and this was back when Gunnar was Leatherface. He'd gotten cast in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I, a little light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, well, we should try and get Gunnar Hansen in the picture, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Seth, but we have a scene for Gunnar to plug him into, or did you write something for?
I wrote a scene for him based on your idea that we lampoon or do some kind of parody of the Jaws
Quint scene. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once I found that we could get Gunnar Hansen, I knew we had to get him in the picture somehow. So what leapt to mind, and when Seth, this is what Seth and I did all the time, is we would come up with an idea and then we would write something around it. And I thought, well, let's lampoon the shark speech from Jaws and cast Gunnar Hansen as Quint.
Yes.
And we'll make it short and self-contained, right, so that we don't have to have him around for days and days and days, because we'll only be able to get him for one day. So we'll make it very, very self-contained and just kind of a little comet, that zips through the solar system of the film. Yeah. And so I talked to Steve, and Gunnar said he would do it, and he was going to come down and visit his buddy anyways. And Gunnar Hansen was just, I swear, one of the nicest men I have ever met. Absolutely. A gentle giant, a poet, and charming and fun and unassuming, and just laughs at his whole at the luck that he has had in his life. And he said, I did Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a lark. Yeah. I was helping out a friend, and now it's become my life.
Of course. Yeah.
And he was great to work with and offered so much input into the scene, and was just really generous. And I still talk to him to this day. Every once in a while, when he comes through Baltimore, he'll hit me up and we'll go have a drink or just chat for a little bit and catch him up and as he's passing through. And we really felt that we had a kind of lightning in a bottle with Gunnar in the picture, because it was yet another great element in the film that we hoped would make the film more saleable. So. He was great to work with. Did his own stunts. When we killed him right after him stepping out of the fishing lodge, he was unafraid, to do his own stunt. And
I was going to ask you about that, because I watched that on like frame by frame. How did you do it? Because it really looks like the truck drives in and mows him down. And then I was thinking, well, they could have cut it. They could have done a dummy. It could have been. And then I was thinking, but it doesn't look like a dummy. It looks like a guy on the front of the truck. So how was that? How was that done? That blew me away. I thought it was fantastic, because I've done a little bit of filmmaking. I mean, nothing to any one degree, but I mean, and obviously doing the show, I look into how they make stuff. So I'm always on the lookout at how stuff is done. But.
Well, that is actually the genius of Bruce Geisert, who is our cinematographer, who learned how to shoot on the various 16mm cameras that we had. He came up with, and more or less on the spot, because we had written how we were gonna kill Gunnar, but we had not really figured it out technically, right? Which was like many things on the picture, is we just really pulled it out of our arse. But Bruce had it in his mind and knew exactly what needed to be done. We shot Gunnar walking out in normal speed, and then Bruce undercranked the camera.
Yeah.
and we shot he overcranked the camera, and shot the truck pulling up slowly, and everything was done in slow motion. Where Gunnar knew exactly what Bruce was doing, where Gunnar would get nudged by the truck, and he would reach up and he grabbed onto the hood of the truck, and then the truck proceeded to move through. We then shot from the exact same position the truck at high speed going through that part of the roadway. And then through rotoscoping, where we sent it out to 310 studios out in L.A., and then we shot a plate as well of just the road. And through the use of rotoscoping, Billy Jones and Craig Russo out at 310 Studios were able to sandwich the three pieces of footage together. And with the addition of sound effects, we were able to create a little shocking moment that served a couple of purposes, one of which was, it was a nice easy end to our star, who we couldn't hire for more than a day.
Right.
And it was a nice kind of jolting moment, because here is ostensibly the hero who's going to save the day getting mowed down in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it serviced so many things, but it also is a great nod to those TV shows where the guest star is either the killer or is the person who's going to get killed at the beginning of the show. So it was really good to have like guest starring Gunnar Hansen, and then have like Gunnar Hansen just be mowed down, 2 minutes after he started. I thought it was great. But like you say, it also services then, okay, we're without a hero. Now what do we do? It's a good way to kind of go on with the story.
One of the things that Seth had always done in the screenplay was he took the viewer in different directions all the time. There were always these left turns. Things would happen and there would be a left turn, right? And I think that's one of the things that makes the film watchable, is that it's not highly predictable. It follows genre convention, but it's not highly predictable. So that's one of the things that we threw in there as a monkey wrench for the audience and keep them on their toes. Yeah,
because of course you're set up as the other hero, and then of course you turn out to be a big coward. Or your character does, and then it's left to the unassuming. I mean, obviously there's that flashback to his dad, so you sort of assume something's going to happen. But at the same time, there is a point where you're like, okay, there's a nice family. They're coming back to town. There's going to be a love story, but whether that actually plays into anything, we don't know yet. And there are hints, but no big reveal until the very end. And that was really nicely done as well. It was just and I like that. I like the fact that there was lots of different characters as well. Like, you really got the sense of this small town, which is important when you have obviously the mayor as one of your main characters, Lisa Burdett, who's just fantastic. What else has she been in? Because I've not seen her in other stuff, but she's great. She's really good.
Well, Lisa has done. I've worked with Lisa a lot, doing a lot of commercial work, industrial work. I make my living directing a lot of film projects, videos for commercial. For commercial endeavors, as well as training videos and things. So I've worked with Lisa for a lot, but I've always thought that she could have done, she could have done TV, she could have done more, other independent feature films, but she really hasn't done a whole lot. She did one other picture, which was shot in the area by another filmmaker that you might want to look up, Kevin Summerfield.
Right.
She had a small role in Max Magician and the Legend of the Rings, which really started off Kevin's career, and he's gone on to produce a number of pictures and is now producing multi-million-dollar pictures, many of which are shot worldwide. So he's another Maryland filmmaker that you might want to look up. But I always thought Lisa was just brilliant. She was just to me, she was Lucille Ball. She was a blonde Lucille Ball to me.
Yeah. No, very, very talented, obviously very beautiful, and just really good on camera. So, fantastic to have her in the film. And what was sort of the release process? Because I know we have filmmakers and things listening to the show. So, sort of, what were the perils of distribution?
Oh, well, they're ongoing. They're still ongoing. we engaged a company out in Los Angeles to help us craft a trailer. And Seth and I took a trip out to L.A. while the picture was still being produced, and pulled together a trailer in an effort to try and garner some interest in the picture and get a pre-sale. And this was back really at the tail end of the pre-sale market days. You can't do that now, and you haven't been able to do that for a while. But back then, you could get a small amount of money in advance against a territory sale if your trailer was good and they liked the concept and they felt that the picture was strong. So our initial efforts to garner distribution for the picture started out there, and we generated some interest. We went out, I made a bunch of calls and set up a whole bunch of meetings and had a number of distributors come down to the studio there at 310 in Burbank and meet with us and see some footage and chat with us. And I guess the biggest fish that we were able to pull in was Morris Ruskin, who is famous for having produced Glengarry Glen Ross.
Right. And
one of the things that he did with his distribution company was distribute a number of creature features. So we had Morris Ruskin come down, and I'm trying to remember, who else did we have come down?
Well, I don't know if I want to necessarily name anybody, but we did have a couple people come and even some people offer some checks to us, which was probably the high point of our distribution experience, I think.
Yes.
But in the end, even though we got some offers, we were still slogging away in production, and all those offers came with a timeline that we just knew we couldn't meet, and I can't say it didn't cross my mind to take the deal, and then if we have a problem meeting the timeline, then, that's another problem we're going to have to solve. But I think in the end, we would never have had this film finished if we had done that. Do you think that's right, Frank?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think the decision, although painful at the time, was the right decision to make, because distribution, actually this is a quote from Joel Denning, right? So making a film is like climbing a mountain. Getting distribution is like going to the moon, right? So this was our first film, and we really didn't have very much experience in distribution at all. We had originally started producing the film under the belief that some distributors of other films from Maryland that we had associations with the filmmakers would be interested in distributing the film. So really we felt that we had distribution, some distribution avenues already in line.
Right.
When those didn't pan out, we decided we would shop the picture around as best we could to those distribution companies that dealt in low budget creature features, creature comedies. We were billing it as at the time, and so we started that effort and tried to find a home for the picture. But like Seth said, most, if not all, of the distributors that we met with really wanted to see a picture turned around and delivered to them within 90 days, which was really an unrealistic goal at that point in time.
Yeah.
Not only given our inexperience, but also just the fact that it would take 90 days just to do a quality check on a picture that was finished and scored and already conformed. 90 days is not a lot of time. In the filmmaking world.
I just wanted to throw in that this is kind of interesting, I thought, is that some of those deals that we initially got offered, or at least some of the interest, they would say things like, well, we like the film, but we need to have nudity in the film.
Yes,
stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And those were just changes that we weren't willing to make. So, it's interesting to kind of do a thought experiment and think about how the film would have been different if we had cast some people who were going to get naked in the film, but it just would have been an entirely different film, and we just weren't really interested in doing that. So
yeah, we really wanted to make a family picture, like a family-friendly picture, although, it did have blood and gore ostensibly.
Sure. Yeah.
But we understood the market mechanics of having nudity in the picture, but we weren't really willing to do that. So
no, and of course, I mean, it's a big part of the documentary they made about Don and Joe Ripple, about the wrestling with that idea of having to put nudity in it, or having to up the gore to silly levels or whatever it is, Right. And that's always a constant problem. And the joke about it is actually, as a sort of creature feature and B movie watcher and lover, I always find that those scenes, as either pleasing or not as they might be or not might be, they always just grind everything to a halt, because you're like, oh, okay, they put this scene in to try and sell the film. You exactly. Never see those scenes and go, oh, that is a logical extension of whatever's going on in the film.
Exactly. They're never kind of contextually natural, right?
No.
They're always obligatory and awkward.
Right. And Don and Joe tried and had some success trying to blend those elements in as best they could, but I'm not sure it would have fit with the kind of Mel Brooksian kind of style you had going on here. It wouldn't have been the same. I mean, innuendo, certainly, but you don't really want to take it any further, otherwise you're undermining the jokes that you had in the first place. So as a timeline then, when you kind of first started putting the film actually into production, obviously there was a genesis period before then, but once you put it into production to when you started having the distribution talks to when it finally then came out on DVD. How many years are you looking at? What are the dates?
Exactly. We started the process around 2002, 2001, right after the initial Snakehead infestation in Maryland.
Right.
Right, and I think it was a year after that when I got a script. So auditions were being held. And I believe the initial phase of production started in 2002, and then Seth and I really didn't get. We shot a little bit of footage, a couple of days of footage before Seth and I took over the project, and then it was from 2002 until 2005, shooting weekends and school holidays, and then. It essentially took a year to edit, I believe, and it's with sound design occurring at that point in time. And we had a premiere in, I believe, 2006, 2007. Because I had a premiere for Fear of Clowns 2 at that time as well.
That's right.
Yeah. 2006, we had our premiere, which was a polished rough cut, I'll say.
Right.
It was certainly the audience enjoyed it, and we had our premiere at the Charles Theater in Baltimore and sold it out.
Nice.
There were about, I don't know, how many people would you say were in that theater, Seth? We had maybe, I don't know. 250, I think it seats 240, something like that. Yeah. 250 people. So, and they enjoyed it. Standing ovation, lots of clapping, lots of kudos. So we felt like we had gotten to a major base camp for the picture at that point in time. We were able to show it as a complete picture, and people enjoyed it. They understood it. It hung together as a complete picture. And at that point, the refinements and revisions that were needed were instituted in earnest by Seth, and it was another year of fine-tuning and sound design, getting the picture in shape to be the picture that you saw when you bought it online.
So Has there been, since the kind of proliferation of, like I was saying earlier, the Sci-Fi Channel movies and things like that, and the internet excitement over Sharknado sequels and other things, has there been talk about kind of re-releasing it or beefing it up or trying to, not obviously changing the movie, but trying to like sell it more as one of those movies since those movies have come out? Or do you think those movies are hindering it?
Well, let me ask you. Seth and I touch base and talk about the picture's life now quite a bit. Do you think there is a market for Swarm of the Snakehead, given this return to pictures like Sharknado?
I would say
in the market?
I would honestly say yes, definitely, absolutely, because everything from those three main companies that I'm mentioning, the guys who Roger Corman's production company is working mainly in Mexico, I think. You've got Sci-Fi Channel, which Corman often feeds into the Sci-Fi Channel, but you've got Sci-Fi Pictures doing their own thing, and you've got the Asylum. But on top of that, I mean, you had the two Piranha 3D releases, which were major studio releases with major special effects and all the rest of it. And I've even seen, there was one called Shark Night, I think, that I've seen. That was another major studio production. So with all that out there, I would say yes, most definitely. Now it would have to, you'd probably have to have some kind of internet thing going on and try and get the fanboys all excited about it or whatever, the guys who like those kind of creature features. But I wouldn't imagine that was too hard. I would definitely see a re-release with the idea of it being one of these pictures, or even approaching someone like Sci-Fi to see if they want to screen it. I mean, it would. I think it's a better picture than all those movies. So it certainly belongs amongst those. Well, it is. It's got, while the CGI might sit alongside what those guys do in their movies, your movie benefits with a script, with characters, with genuine humor, and all the stuff I've talked about. So I mean, I think it's a better picture. And would rather Sci-Fi and the Asylum be making movies like this. I don't know how they make movies so straight-faced. I don't understand how you make... I mean, I just watched one recently that the Asylum did, which is Sherlock Holmes goes up against a dinosaur, a giant octopus, and like a steampunk kind of flying machine thing that's shaped like a giant dragon. And I thought, there's some really good ideas. You've got steampunk, you've got Sherlock Holmes, you've got monsters, you've got all this stuff. But it was done in this kind of serious... unimaginative way, and I was like, oh, that's such a shame. So anyway, I mean, to digress, but yes, I would say definitely if there is any kind of connections that you have to kind of make that possible, I think it perfectly sits alongside those movies.
Well, that's great. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Seth and I were just talking today actually about how we can move ahead with the project, and we're definitely going to do it. We're definitely going to get the picture out there and reapproach distributors and see what the market will bear.
Well, I mean, I know that I'm a member of a few Facebook groups, guys who like the Sci-Fi Channel movies, and guys who like B movies and things like that. And I know today that I posted that we were covering the film, and I posted the trailer on B Movie Collective or B Movie something. There's some group on Facebook and everything, and I'll do that when the show comes out as well, and try and put it out there as much as I can.
Oh,
I mean, it's only hundreds. Great. It's only hundreds of people. It's not millions, but it's a start
great.
To kind of get it out there, and then. So the last question is just, again, looking at the other end of production at the very beginning. I don't need figures and I don't need names necessarily, but how for independent filmmakers, how was it financed? Was it just personally financed over the course of 3 years, or did you have initial investors, or how was it done?
Well, it was really a mix of personal financing between Seth and myself as the major financiers, and then also friends and family, right? It's an independent film, and
sure,
we had a couple of other smaller investors that believed in the project, and they were able to get us the funds that we needed for production. And then there were also a number of deferred deals that were put in place because people really believed in the project and felt that it was worthwhile to be involved in it, even though they may have to take deferred compensation. So, it's your classic indie mix of financing.
Interesting. No, I just know that I do have indie filmmakers who listen to the show, and they're always interested how other people kind of get to do it. Anything we can inspire other people to do is great. But look, thanks, guys. It's been wonderful talking to you, and I did genuinely like the picture, and it's no BS, and it's no hyperbole. I genuinely enjoyed the film, and thanks so much for giving your time today. It was really fascinating to find out how you put it together, and just great to meet you and talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, John, thank you very much for allowing us to take a little trip down memory lane talking about this picture, because it's and I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Really, it's great to talk to people who's experienced the film in the spirit in which it was created and meant. So Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, guys. And stay in touch via Facebook and Twitter or whatever you're on. And it's great to talk to you guys. And best of luck in the future. I guess I could ask: are there plans for like a sequel or another film together, or other movies that you guys are going to be doing in the future we can look out for? Or?
Well, Seth and I are writing partners, and we bounce. We have many ideas, many projects that are kind of in early stages, and we do in fact have a sequel in mind for Swarm of the Snakehead.
Nice.
And once again, it's another nod to the genre and genre favorites and classics that we all love, and it is Swarm of the Snakehead 2. I was a teenage snakehead.
Nice. I like it. And are you going to come back as the cousin, brother, twin, whatever of Delhay?
Well, we've tried to. We've thought about this nod, and there may be an evil twin involved.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Excellent. I can't honestly. That would be fantastic. So, but like I say, keep in touch. Let us know, and we'll put what we can out on the website. But thanks ever so much, and you have a good Sunday evening, guys.
Great. Thank you, John.
You too.
Splendid, yes. Well, that was marvellous, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that. What a great conversation. Awesome, right? And all this for free. Isn't podcasting marvellous? Isn't it just marvellous? Anyway, before I go peculiar, here are a few messages from some other podcasts you should be listening to. These are not the podcasts. Anyway, some other podcasts you should be listening to. And then we've got Robert Long on the show.
Listen to The Obsessive Viewer, a weekly topic-driven movie and TV podcast featuring three guys who love watching stuff.
I'm glad that he used the word icon, because that film is absolutely part of, film iconography.
And he really made the movie I think he set out to make successfully and did it well. The problem I have is it's just not for me.
Today we're talking about tragedy on the screen.
Yeah, get your boxes of Kleenex ready, listeners.
No, wait, our porn episode isn't until next season.
Dang it, my bad.
Oh, nice. Very well played, Matthew.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at obsessiveviewer.com.
From the folks that bring you the blogs at nerdlunch.net and cavalcadeofawesome.net, it's the Nerd Lunch Podcast. Join CT, Jeej, Pax, and the ever-rotating fourth chair every week covering a variety of topics in movies, TV, comic books, fast food, snacks, and more. Nerd Lunch is available from iTunes and nerdlunch.net.
Hi, my name's Chris, and I've got Steven Seagal on the old dog and bone. Steven.
Yes.
Have you ever desired to hear a weekly movie podcast hosted by two fellows from the northeast of England who run their little hands through the week's movie news and then cap it off with a review or two, ranging from all sorts of genres: kung fu, anime, straight-to-video tomfoolery, bit of horror?
No.
Well, you're a dick who doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't even know why I'm asking you. I'm sure there's other people out there who have desired to hear such a thing, so if you're one of those lovely people, pop on over to wafufm.com, that's WAFUFM.com, and check out the show. You can also find us on iTunes, TalkShoe, and Facebook at facebook.com/wafublog. Wafu FM, it's a podcast that's good and stuff. Shut up, Stephen.
If you're not listening to those podcasts every single day of your life, it ain't worth living. Now, I would like to put a brief disclaimer at this point about the conversation you're about to hear. Due to many reasons, and it really is nobody's fault, but due to many reasons, we had to record this week's show through the arse trumpet that is known as Google Voice. And unfortunately, because Google Voice is, well, it's wonderful because it's free and it allows you to have a phone on your computer and yada, 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 yada. But as a service to record a show on, it's pretty awful. Now, I've tried to clean up the sound, but there are still some sort of echoey sounds and there are still sort of some gaps in conversation and things like that. But I have tried my very best to edit it, clean it up, make it better. And all those good things. So I apologize if it's not as polished and clean as you are used to. However, it is still perfectly listenable to. So don't worry about it. Sit back, relax, and let's talk to Robert Long about Baltimore indie film, his website, and Swarm of the Snakehead.
Yeah, I'd like this to be a friendly chat as well. That's what the show's about. I don't do, despite people saying about the professionalism of the show, I don't do anything professionally.
No, but I think it's the passion that you have, John. That's what comes through, and that's what a lot of other people do not have on their podcast. That's why I tune in every week or every other week whenever you post.
That's very, very cool of you, Robert. Very, very cool. Yeah, no, I prefer personal to professional. I've never understood why adults put on airs and graces with each other. It seems a little redundant in 2014.
Well, it's to sell ties.
That's exactly what it is. That's the best answer I've heard, I think. So let's start then. I'll give a bit of an introduction and then we'll just ease into it and we'll start with a few questions about yourself and your past and your work in the industry, that kind of thing. And then we'll segue into Swarm of the Snakehead, okay?
Hey, however it goes, that sounds great to me, John.
Cool. All right. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the After Movie Diner. And this week's guest is absolutely fantastic. Wanted to get him on the show for some time. He is our connection where he feeds us the fantastic information and wonderful news about the great indie film scene in Baltimore, one of my favorite places despite never visiting. And he has just been an absolutely invaluable resource through him and his website at Smash or Trash Indie Filmmaking. And it's been fantastic to get to know this guy over the last couple of years of covering the Dr.Dohler films and the Chris LaMartina films and Roulette and things like that. And just the way that he has introduced us to the filmmaking talent and the acting talent and so on that Baltimore has to offer, while being incredibly generous and incredibly kind and becoming a good friend. And he is an actor, he is a graphic designer, he is an art director, he is an accomplished artist, model builder, filmmaker. He's a jack of all trades and a master of all of them. Very happy and pleased to welcome Mr. Robert Long onto the show.
Well, thank you, John. You flatter me. Gosh, how do I follow that up? Good night, folks. It's been pleasant.
Not at all, sir. I mean, it's been fantastic since you sort of reaching out to me, and I mean, from the very first sort of Dohler episode we did, I think you reviewed us on TalkShoe and maybe iTunes, and then sent me an email. And you've been nothing but complimentary of the show, generous towards me and Nick and Phil personally, and also you understood from the get-go what we were doing, and also I could see from some of the other reviews you shared of Don's work from other websites, I could see how frustrating it must have been for quite a while. Seeing these ridiculous people reviewing Don's work.
You're absolutely right, John. It's, gosh, what's it been? 2-3 years now. And I remember I was doing a search for Don on Google, and I came across After Movie Diner, and it's like, oh, God, here we go again. But I was, after I got through, I forget what it was, something mafia style and McBain and a few other things, you guys got to Night Beast. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're actually being complimentary. This is different.
Yeah. And what's crazy is you contacted us, and I famously didn't gel with Night Beast on that particular evening as well as I would later on, and yet you still contacted us and got in contact, which was great.
Well, I think John, it was because the 3 or 4 or out of 5 people that were there, you were the incredulous one. I mean, you weren't non-complimentary, but you're like, this was your favorite movie of the night, so it kind of seemed like you had to check it out again, and the documentary, which kind of turned you on to what Don was really like.
Yeah, definitely. That was a huge help, the documentary. But I think it was that collection of films, and it was that particular night. I think that, and I think I said this on like the second Don-Dohler show we did. Now I'm much more 3 years down the line of doing the show and the website, much broader palette of films, both in terms of genre and in terms of budget. And while I had my genre films that I loved growing up as a teenager and things like that, and B-movies and horror movies and things like that, I was still fairly populist or obvious in my taste. I'd only really come across sort of the big ones, you know what I mean? The Reanimators, the Evil Dead, things like that, stuff that everyone talks about. So, exactly. So I had been slowly getting into, because obviously I'd been sent screeners and things like that, I had been slowly getting into a more sort of independent mindset. And it's just you have to watch certain genre, or I did back then, I don't anymore, but I did back then. You have to watch certain budgets and certain genre films and certain B-movies and certain indie films with a certain mindset. And we had watched 3 very diverse and odd films, and I think just by the time Night Beast came along, out of McBain and Mafia Massacre Style and some other movies which I preferred that particular evening, that the clear winner was Night Beast amongst my group of friends. I was like, oh, okay, I must be missing something because I trust all these guys, I like all these guys, and clearly something's going on. And it was all on me. It was just that my mind wasn't there. I liked it that night, and I had a good time with the movie, but it just wasn't the one that popped for me out of the 4 movies we watched. And so, going back, watching the documentary, and then watching Don's films from kind of Alien Factor, starting fresh at the beginning again, and kind of working chronologically, it made a lot more sense. I mean, there's some stuff in Alien Factor still, which I think is just fantastic. And I know there's a lot of like comments about the nature filming and the slow-mo children and things like that. But that's where Don's art as a cinematographer, which ironically he would go on to become, that's where his art as a cinematographer really shone through. It's not in the scenes that everyone, it's not in the sheriff's office scenes or anything. It's in the scenes where he's out in nature, really filming it in a beautiful way, in a fantastic way. And that's what really struck me about Alien Factor. And then secondly, the storyline, the way that the story is different from any other sort of alien invasion film I've seen.
Yeah, it's always amazing to have a roving reporter in such a small town. So,
But it's just the way that Don said, I could make an alien attacks movie and I could have one guy in a suit. But Don doesn't stop there. He goes, I'm going to have 3 monsters, not just one, I'm going to have 3. And the third one is going to be a stop-motion see-through monster. How about them apples? You know what I mean? Like, he really just goes all out. He doesn't just say, okay, one dude and a monster, that'll be fine. He goes all out, and he creates this thing where there are good aliens and bad aliens, and there's this whole thing going on. It's not just alien bad, alien attack, small town defend. It's so much more is going on, and it's that's what struck me about Alien Factor. And from the documentary and then Alien Factor, I was sold. And every movie I saw, I could immediately dial into what Don was doing. But you just have to, your brain is like a radio sometimes. You just have to kind of adjust it till you find the channel, you know?
Oh, yeah, I totally understand that. And the thing about Don is his stuff always has heart. You know, you have to, it's always there. And it's, when you start comparing it to some of the other stuff that's out there, it is so much better. Yeah, trust me on that.
Oh, no, I mean, I know I've seen a lot. I've seen far more now since doing the show. And there's some great independent work being done out there. There is, but there is also some really bad stuff. And I think that's what's happened with the advent of digital video and being able to put your stuff on YouTube or Vimeo or somewhere like that. And everyone has now a film studio in their pocket by way of their phone. Everyone, you know, first of all, it's the great leveler because everyone can now make a movie, but now everybody can make a movie. That's not always a good thing.
No, it's not. It's not, and that's the shame of it. And that's what initially I was trying to do with my website is I was trying to help people be better independent filmmakers and aircraft. You know, really have a good story, really try to treat this as a professional experience, even if you have no money. But you go on YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, and you see countless, it's just like, hey, let's get my friends together and shoot ketchup packs at each other. So it's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one thing that seems to be lacking a lot of the time is scripts. You see a lot of people, and I think what that comes down to is not just the advent of being able to shoot film with your phone, but the advent of being able to do effects fairly cheaply, CGI, that you have a whole bunch of people who become very technically savvy and technically good filmmakers. I mean, you only have to look at the guy who went on to do the Evil Dead remake, Fede Alvarez. I've talked about his first movie a lot. CGI is fantastic in it, and the camera work is fantastic in it. There's no story, there's no characters, there's no script, there's no dialogue, there's nothing to connect to it. But in terms of giant aliens trampling a South American city, yeah, it's well done. But who gives a crap? You know what I mean? People malign Independence Day, but if you look at Independence Day versus something crap like Battle Los Angeles, I would rather Independence Day because at least there's characters, there's a sense of humor, the army will take down the aliens.
Yeah, it's the one thing they always forget, John, is the story, and that's what's the least expensive thing in independent filmmaking. That's where they could be the strongest. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So let's go back then, Robert. Let's go way back because I mean I know that what you're currently doing with the website, and I want to get to that so we can go ahead and plug the website and find out more about that. But let's go way back. So when did you first start getting into films, and what was your sort of first taste of the industry?
Okay, wow. Well, just to show what an old man I am, it would be the 70s. And, just monkeying around with an 8mm camera that my parents owned. But the turning point was in 1979 when I picked up a copy of Cinemagic magazine, and Don Dohler was still having some control of that. And just seeing that I could do the effects that he could with simple things made me go, this is what I want to get into. And by about the mid-'80s, I started doing semi-professional, semi-amateur stuff, and worked up from there. By about the mid-'90s, I spent 10 to 15 years out in Hollywood, and I was starting to do stuff out there for people such as Don Coscarelli. I appeared in Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, and when you first started making films or being in films or doing artwork for films and things, that was initially in Baltimore before you moved out to Hollywood?
No, this was from your favorite state, John, which is Iowa.
Oh, okay, you were in Iowa. Iowa, I don't have anything against Iowa, do I? Have I said stuff against Iowa before?
No, you've just been rather kidding about it sometimes. I don't blame you.
What did I say about Iowa?
Oh, no, it's just, when you were doing, that Bill Murray movie and a couple other things, it's like, oh, yeah, well, he's based in Iowa, So, but, no, it was nothing.
Fair enough. I must have.
But, no, I mean, I'm from the Midwest, and I did that there in Chicago and to Hollywood as a graphic designer, but I got into movies as well, as everybody is out there. They hold their daytime jobs, and then they work when they can in the movies. So that's what I did for about 10 to 15 years.
Okay, and just tell us a couple of your, favorite experiences from that time.
Oh, well, okay. Probably the biggest thing that I did, I mean, I worked on 2 movies of any note, and one was Bubba Hotep, and I got to be, I mean, I'm somewhat acquaintances, friends with Don Coscarelli and Reggie Bannister and other people like that, so I was there the day that they blew up Elvis's camper, which was an interesting day, and I also, I'm standing with Bob Ivy, who plays Bubba Hotep, and Reggie Bannister and everybody else in the crowd scene, which is the flashback while Bruce Campbell is up there insulting us in the suburb of Los Angeles. So that was one of the things. It was great. I got my 3 seconds of fame up there on the screen.
And what a film to be involved in. I mean, that was being a Bruce Campbell fan in my teenage years, Bubba Hotep was like him stepping out of the shadows into the light. Like, it was such a revelatory sort of performance and film for him to be in. And likewise, obviously, Don hadn't really made anything in a while either. So it was wonderful to see that film. And it was sort of early days, in a way, of the internet as well. I mean, I followed that film from production right through to its release, eventual release in the UK, which was about 2 or 3 years. And I followed it on Campbell's website and on IMDb and as many places as I could. I mean, that was a real seminal film for me.
Yeah, it's got its detractors and whatnot, but I think it's a really good film, and it shows that Don doesn't just have to do Phantasm films, as much as I love him, that is. So, he's a really good filmmaker.
Oh, he's a fantastic filmmaker. He always has been, and he's showing that again with John Dies at the end, which is great. So then first one was Bubba Hotep, and what was another experience you had out in Hollywood?
Oh, well, it was this one, it's kind of an anthology film called The Boneyard Collection. And I ended up being, a cat wrangler in it. And I got to work with Tippy and and just tons of different people are in that. Kevin McCarthy, William Smith. I got to work with Brink Stevens. I was like one of the interviewers for all these stars. And I get to play a corpse in it. So it's kind of an anthology film that has the mummy, it has vampires, and it has zombies in it, and devil worshippers. So, and it was hosted by Forey J. Ackerman of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. So that was like one of his last roles that he did before he passed. And it was, it's one of those that when you're involved with a ton of stars, it's like, okay, well, I guess I did something.
Oh, yeah, of course. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, it cut out a little bit at the beginning. You were saying that you worked with Tippi Hedren. Is that correct?
Yes, of Hitchcock fame. She had a scene with my cat, which was a black cat. So obviously it's like, the director's like, does anybody have a black cat? It's like, well, I do. So, I'm sitting there out of screen, keeping my cat on her lap, and we're talking about the birds and stuff in between takes.
Nice. And were you aware at this time of sort of where you would go next? Were you aware of moving to Baltimore? Were you aware of sort of setting up the website? When do these things start coming into place?
Well, part of it is, number one, I found out that Dohler was back in action back in the early 2000s. And I've always considered myself the biggest Don Dohler fan out there. And he was doing stuff that you can't get done in Hollywood. So I'm starting to think, I want to move out to Baltimore. That was the first thing. Because, I mean, he was churning out 2-3 movies within a few years, and you don't get that out in Hollywood because of all the expense. So,
Right.
you know, here I am out in Hollywood, which is supposed to be the hub, and I want to move to Baltimore. Of course, everybody out here said I was crazy. They still think I'm crazy. But,
well, yeah, I mean, but look, there's like 5-10 indie movies coming out of Baltimore a year. I mean, it's more popular than ever, it seems, the filmmaking there.
oh yeah, it's great. I mean, you don't come out here to make money, but then again, you're not out in Hollywood to make money either, because that's like the top 5% that do that. Everybody else, has to have day jobs. So that was part of the equation. The second part of the equation, which is I started out to make a book, which turned into the website Smash It Trash Independent Filmmaking, was I was watching some really bad movie, and I was just so disgusted with how bad it was, and there was obviously money behind it. I think it was called Detour. It's a bad early, Hills Have Eyes ripoff. And it's like, I can't stand it anymore. Somebody needs to tell people, who's got some experience. It's like, make better movies, people. You don't have to make crap. And that was the genesis of it. And I became friends with Leanna Chamish, who was a Time Warp Films actress, and she became my co-author on it. So that's how that started.
Yeah, the wonderful Leanna Chamish is just what a lovely person, and a great soul and a great heart that she has. And so you guys started up the website when? When did that start up?
That started out after I moved out here. I just found it was going to be too hard to do a book, because it's basically, things are constantly changing, and I would have to be constantly updating the book before it would go to publish, and even then the technology would have been outdated. So it's like, okay, let's take everything, all the interviews, everything that we've done, and let's launch it. And I believe I launched it in 2008. And, it's dedicated after Don. Don Dohler, unfortunately, passed away in late 2006. So it's basically out there to try to do reviews and interviews and how-tos and the indie filmmakers sort of thing, so that people can make better movies on a budget. That's the gist, anyway.
It's a great resource. It's a fantastic resource, and it's a really packed website. I mean, you could spend weeks on there looking stuff up and reading reviews and reading articles and things like that. You have great interviews, of course, with George and Leanna and other key players in Don's career. You have write-ups and reviews and photographs and rare moments about all his films. So anyone interested at all in the Baltimore indie film scene, anyone who's seen Chris Lamartina's work, or obviously Eric Myers and his great success he's having with Roulette and things like that, what call in terms of reading up and learning about all those. It always is when I'm researching another Baltimore episode or something like that. So.
Well, that's right. But when do you have time, John? You're always on somebody's podcast. You're a busy guy.
Yes, no. Lately, it happens every so often. About once every, there's a couple of shows that I kind of regularly appear on as a guest, and they're fairly easy to do. Bloodbaths and Boomsticks, for example. I just love Kyle and Tim. Like, we just get on really well. So they just let me know on a Sunday morning. They're just like, hey, you want to be part of the show tonight? Sure. And then we sit there. Yeah, and then we sit there for 4 hours. But then about once every sort of 3 or 4 months, for whatever reason, I'm asked to guest on a whole handful of shows, and then they come out like all in 1 week. So recently I was on Gary Hill's Cinema Beef podcast, which was great. I was on the Nerd Lunch for my second episode, or third episode, I think, of the Nerd Lunch, which is a great show. I was asked back on, Badasses, Boobs and Body Counts by Mike, because he wanted to show me a film that he knew I would hate. So we did Gummo. And and secondly, he wanted, Second, I mean, there's Harmony Korine is someone who need to be just told to stop making film. But he wanted me back on because he wanted to announce the reboot of B-Movie Bargain Bin. And then I had my show, the Dr. Action Show, and B-Movie Bargain Bin come out as well. So it was ridiculous. I was on like 8 podcasts over the last 2 weeks or something.
For us listeners, it's great, John, because you've got like constant stuff coming out. You know, you're either guesting or you're doing your 2 or 3 podcasts. So it's I haven't been for want of new material.
No, indeed. I mean, I think we've worked it out that we're going to try and do the Diner weekly and the Dr. Action every other week, and then B-Movie Bargain Bin every month. I think that's how we're gonna do it, certainly for the next few months, and go from there. Because then that's nice. Then you've got 2 Dr. Actions, 4 Diners, and 1 B-Movie every month. I think that's a nice sort of handful and collection of movies, you know. Plus we've got the doc coming up on the Diner so often in the next few months that doing the Dr. Action show as well is more of a cut loose kind of affair, and then we have Doc on to talk about serious stuff on the Diner.
Yes, I did catch all the episodes recently, and I did catch B-Movie Bargain Bins, and I have to admit I do agree with what you guys said about Savage Weekend. So glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, I love that movie, and I really wish it had less boom mic and better production. But I mean, there's a movie that scripting and good acting and a fairly decent plot really helps, because you can really look past a lot of the technical elements of that movie to enjoy it because of those things. And that's why with indie filmmaking, I'm most impressed when I see a really great script, because I can look past the video quality and I can look past certain editing that can sometimes be a little shaky because the editing is trying to compensate for the fact that they didn't film enough on the day or whatever. I can kind of look past that. Well, you see that so much, don't you, in indie movies, where clearly they wanted to do a cutaway, they didn't get to do a cutaway, everyone's moved on because they filmed it 2 years ago, and then they're trying to make the scene in the edit, which I can look past as long as the essence of the scene is strong and relevant,
Oh yeah. It's Well, that's where a lot of good pre-production will save your butt in indie stuff, which unfortunately a lot of these guys and gals don't do.
But I mean, everything that I've watched lately from Baltimore, and this will be a good segue into today's film, Swarm of the Snakehead. The Chris LaMartina films and Eric Myers' Roulette. People can say what they like about the plotting or the scripting or whatever, and I personally liked it, but people can say what they like about it. I just thought, wow, what a series of professional, interesting products. I mean, just fantastic movies in their own right, but what a step up in terms of the professionalism of presenting indie film.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, these guys that you're talking about, they know what they're doing, and it's a joy to watch their movies. It's so much fun to watch Chris's movies, and I did listen to your Roulette thing, and yeah, I mean, it's a very powerful, disturbing film, but it's very well crafted. As, you know, a lot of the stuff around here is. And we got some talented people, including Frank Lama and Seth Hurwitz, who we will talk about.
Well, yeah, what I wanted to say about Swarm, just on the offset, was I remember, and I've told this story before, but when the wonderful Matt Farley and Charles Roxburgh first sent me their first two films, Freaky Farley and Monsters, Marriage and Murders in Manch Vegas. The first thing that impressed me, because obviously I'd been sent a few screeners by this point, the thing that impressed me the most was that it came with, and this might sound odd, but it came with great cover, it came with some postcards, it came with a real professional look to it. And then when you put those movies in, the fact that they had shot, and like I say, I don't really care about video quality as long as the script is strong, but the fact that they'd shot those on 16 millimeter and the fact that there was so much care, heart, and attention paid to the presentation of their idea, that really just sold me on them straight away and warmed me to them straight away before I'd even really watched much more than 5 minutes of the film. And I found exactly the same with Swarm of the Snakehead. The fact that the DVD is of great quality. You get that great inlay card with it. It looks great. You put it on. The soundtrack is very professionally done. The script is obviously there from the get-go. The acting is clearly there from the get-go. You know, you're aware straight away that these guys, seemingly know what they're doing. About the movie when you first put it on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a good film. I was at the premiere, John, and I also had a screener, and what we're seeing and what we're talking about today is a completely different film from that, and I'm glad.
Right.
Because it was, and I don't know if you can see, well, maybe we should give the synopsis of the film. I mean, it's a creature feature, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's a small town on the coastline of Maryland where it has been, or it's slowly revealed that a fish known as a snakehead, for its snake-like head, surprisingly, it's kind of like part fish, part snake. Pure evil is the tagline of the movie. First off, attacks the mayor, but basically one becomes two, becomes a swarm. In the meantime, you get to find out all about these crazy characters in the town. The mayor has some backward deal, real estate deal that is going to line her pockets that she's trying to finagle through the local government.
Yep.
And you get the tale of a small town lad coming back to his hometown with his now young daughters, who hooks up with a possible form of flame in a local shop. And we also have the appearance of Frank Lama as a fantastically cheesy celebrity fisherman who has come into town for the big summer fish-off. They're going to have a big small-town summer fish-off, and he's come into town to kind of swan about and sell his book. And into this small-town community full of corruption and crazy comes a killer fish. Right?
Absolutely. No, I think you nailed it very well. And what's nice is this presentation of the film has got nice pace. You know, it really clips along, and you just get to know enough about the people to either like them or dislike them. And Frank's character of Daryl Delhay is, for me, the highlight of the whole movie because he's so narcissistic. It's just a wonder to behold on the screen.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's fantastic. I mean, of course, and I've seen this in other reviews of the film, people mention Jim Carrey, they mentioned Bruce Campbell. There's kind of got that look as well, the dark hair, the movable eyebrows, the big chin, square jaw kind of thing going on, who's equally as sort of brash and silly as some of the characters that Kurt Russell has played, or, you know, go back to the B movies of the 40s and 50s. There's always some square-jawed jock character who's going to try and show up and save the day. And of course, in Swarm, much like with a lot of Campbell's roles, they kind of flip it on its head and he becomes the coward rather than the hero.
which is fantastic because Frank did not mind making fun of himself or making a fool of himself in there, and the film is so much better for it because it's just hilarious.
Well, I mean, the thing is that from looking at the film or looking at the name of the film or reading the synopsis of the film, a lot of people would initially be tempted to compare it to a Roger Corman sci-fi channel, The Asylum type monster movie. These, you know, Sharktopus and Mega Shark and all these kind of things, which has been there's been an absolute rash of them lately. If you can put a dinosaur, a shark, a hybrid octopus, dinosaur, shark or something in a movie, they've done it and continue to do it, and it's become tongue-in-cheek. The trouble with those films versus Swarm, is that in those movies there is absolutely no attention paid to the script whatsoever. What it is those movies want to survive purely on their stupid idea. That's what they want to survive on. They want to go, people are going to just want to see a Sharktopus, or they just want to see Mega Gator or whatever it is. And they don't really care. We'll just have some stock in trade characters. We'll have the old curmudgeon. We'll have the, you know, young hot woman, and we'll have the naive guy who's going to have to step up and be the hero in the end. We'll just throw them into the mix, and that'll work, right? And then they throw it out there. And look, some of them are better than others. I'm not painting them all the same, and some of them I've had great fun with. What immediately Swarm did for me as I saw it was it immediately stepped up to the plate and said, instead of having this, you're going to laugh at it because, ironically, because it's a B movie and we have a rubber fish in it and everything else, they cut through that by saying, no, you're going to laugh at this because it's genuinely funny. And we've written jokes into the film. And that is its winning card.
I have to agree. And as you stated earlier, it really could not have been pulled off if the acting wasn't there. And the acting is great across the board.
Oh, the acting's fantastic. I mean, Lisa Burdett does an incredible job. Really good. Even the kid actors in this movie are strong. And you never see a strong kid acting. Is it Jamie Lynn O'Brien who plays the young girl in it, who has a sort of love interest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's great in the film. There's no kind of trouble with them or her sisters.
About the three daughters, and Elizabeth Denning, who plays the middle daughter with the camcorder, like I said, she went on to play the lead in President's Day. So, you know, some good acting there as well.
Oh, yeah. No, they were all great. I even like the funny face that the youngest daughter with the fish pulls when she's, like, freaking out the class at the end of the movie.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And those were, both of those, the middle and the youngest daughter, are the daughters of Joel Denning, who plays William Emerson. I think he directed the movie as well, or co-directed.
Yes, he did. Yes, he co-directed with Frank. Yeah, and that makes sense, obviously, to have his daughters in the film because he had such a good rapport with them, and then it's not weird, and then you don't have to have the parents on set at the same time, and you know that's a good way to tie it all in.
Oh yeah. So we've know what the basic plot is. It's got a little bit of a Jaws vibe to it, especially with their special guest star. And who was that, John?
The special guest star in this movie, and he really is a special guest star, and it's sort of a joke on itself, and it's a joke on people like him showing up in other B movies and or sci-fi movies, and that is Gunnar Hansen from Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame, and obviously Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers fame.
Absolutely. But he does such a great job.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's fantastic, and he has that wonderful accent. So they were able to. Is it a Boston area accent? It's certainly a Northeast accent, right? He's got that funny A sound.
Yeah, he's from the Northeast, or he's now up in the Northeast. So yeah, he's got that down pat.
He was doing a good kind of Maine accent, or a good sort of Massachusetts accent, which means that there's this. Gag with Frank not being able, Daryl Delhay, Frank character not being able to say his name properly, and in fact becomes his final word, because there is a fantastic stunt and just a fantastic shot in general where Delhay is giving his nonsense braggadocio kind of talk about fighting with a marlin or something. And Gunnar shows up to basically say, you don't know what you're talking about, to which Daryl, runs over and says, there's only room for one celebrity here, kindly piss off, which Gunnar basically does, goes outside and is hit in the middle of the road by a truck.
It is very well done. Yeah, he comes in, he does his Quint part. And, he's basically, what? You people aren't going to listen to me? Well, screw you. So,
yeah. It's great, yeah. But it's also a joke on the whole, we have to have a named person in these things in order to sell them. Well, we're gonna give you that, but we're gonna kill him off. So that people rent it or people buy it to go, oh yeah, Gunnar Hansen. Only to have him in for literally, a couple of minutes. As good as he is.
Yeah, he doesn't even get to rev a chainsaw, so, yeah.
Right. But, and I think that's another thing which I've loved about delving into in the independent scene a little deeper, is completely shaking loose the need for any kind of named person in a film, and discovering stars within indie film. And the best thing about, or one of the best things, not just the best thing, but one of the best things about Baltimore independent film is that you see the same people or similar people crop up time and time again. So within their own industry, you can generate your own stars, your own people. And I meant it when I interviewed George. Interviewing George Stover was as important and as nervous and as exciting for me as interviewing, any of the names we've had on the show, because he is as iconic and as important in my film taste as anybody is at this point,
Oh, absolutely, and now you had personally posed photos with him sent to you. So how about that?
That's insane. I mean, that's insane. Your support and generosity of us here and the New York Dohlerites has been just wonderful. And the fact that I can, and look, I knew exactly what I was saying when I said on the podcast, I think last time Nick and I did a show, and I said on the podcast, getting my hand on a 45 of Atlantis maybe someday would be the Holy Grail. I knew that might send someone somewhere digging around. But even so, the fact that it actually came to pass, and the fact that you and George and Leanna were so generous in providing that, and so wonderful in providing that, rather than being like, who's this kid up in New York being all demanding? You could easily go, yeah, John, okay, look, we've sent you enough free crap, shut up, you know what I mean? Like, you could really feel that way about me, and I would have no problem with that, So.
No. We genuinely like you and the rest of the Dohlerites very much and appreciate you down here, John.
Yeah.
So.
And it's been fantastic. So yeah, having in my hand maybe someday Atlantis 45. Wow, that to me it is the holy grail of all. And I know that even that the band are not the people playing in the movie. That's actors and other things miming to the song. But even so, there's something about that song, man, that's just it's just fantastic and ties the whole Dohler experience together. Because I wish he'd had Atlantis in every single. I can't believe they broke up. I wish he'd had them in every film. It would have been really good.
We'll try to work Don going by in a car in every film if we can. But.
That's what we want. Don going by, a CGI Don Dohler going by in a car is just one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. And why not? If you can do it, make it happen. That's what I say.
To get just a little bit back to the Swarm here, the one thing I missed, and it is, I really would have liked to have seen Lisa Burdett in a bikini.
Yes, I have to say, I don't want to get too male about it, but yes, the women in the movie, certainly Lisa and who is the lady that Mr. Emerson is wooing, his ex-flame.
Oh, yes. I can't think of her name right now, but she is attractive, yes.
Yes, she's very attractive, and as is the lady playing Miss, what's the town called again?
Barrow Springs.
That's it, the lady playing Miss Barrow Springs, who has an unfortunate encounter with Daryl Delhay.
Worst mistake of her career. But, it's just so professional, John. I mean, I'm looking at like all the dolly shots within the mansion at the beginning. I'm like, wow, they really, took some care on this.
Yeah, production value is fantastic. I just wanted to add, obviously, all the beauties, of course, are fantastic, eclipsed by Leanna's cameo as a newsreader, of course, because Leanna is, so I just wanted to put that out there. But yes, no, you're right. Onto the dolly shots. The dolly shots, the tracking, the camera work in general is superb. There's some obvious scenes that were shot for time, I'm sure, handheld. Or maybe shot for some energy or whatever, handheld. But you're right. The beginning of the film, and you need a strong beginning with an indie movie because you've got to make the audience sit past the 10-minute mark. Most audiences will give you 10 minutes. And this movie gives you everything you need in 10 minutes. And I tell you another thing that I thought was great. The rubber fish that they had to play the Snakehead.
Oh, yeah.
Initially, I saw it and I was like, okay, they're going to go for rubber fishes. Okay, no, I can get with that, fine. But then do you know what sold me on the puppet?
What's
was
that?
When its eye narrowed. And I was like, it's not just a, oven mitt, but with, rubber on it, because it could have just been like a snapping rubber oven mitt. It had movable parts. They thought about it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And the design is very cool. The one thing I didn't know until after multiple watchings is, the one with the pencil stuck in it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that attacks the mayor towards the end. I didn't realize that until a couple of viewings.
Yeah, because at one point someone also mentioned that they saw one of the creatures with only one eye, and she says, "Oh no, it can't be." And the reason why she thought there was only one fish rather than a swarm of fishes is she thought there was just the one-eyed one that she poked out with the pencil in the opening scene.
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's, I was a little bit so-so on this movie. In what I saw previously, but when I finally got the finished form, I am really on board with this film as a creature feature, as a fun creature feature.
Oh yes, it's fantastic. It's got everything you want, and even they do a good mix of puppetry and CGI, and in terms of the fishes, And even the CGI fish that wriggles away at the beginning to reveal the title of the movie, which is the one-eyed fish that has done battle with the mayor. Even that is a very strong CGI effect for an indie movie of this kind. But yes, you're right. The acting is great. The camera work is great. The soundtrack is really strong. There's some good intentional jokes in there. There's the funny one about I was at school with you. I was held back, because clearly he's like 30 years older than the kid he's talking to. There's the one where she says, we'll split it in half, 70-30. That I really like. Obviously, Frank Lama's character has a great series of jokes. The best one being that when he's wooing Miss Barrow Springs, he says, "Would you like to come inside for some coffee?" And she says, "I don't drink coffee." And he says, "That's okay, I don't have any coffee."
That's okay, because I don't have any coffee.
Yeah. Which is great. And what was the other line? He said, "Oh yes, did I say Christmas album?" That was my favorite line in the film. I thought that was so good, and such a nice little comment on Hollywood as well. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, now I don't know if you are going to get a chance to talk to Frank, or if you already talked to Frank, but he's a hell of a guy, and he'll have a lot of insights on this should you get the chance to interview him.
Well, I wanted to plug, because I think the second episode is out or coming out. You've had Frank on Smash or Trash Television, right?
Yeah, he was my co-host, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, back in 2010. Oh my God, where's the time gone? And he moved back to Canada. He's originally from Canada. And I did shoot another episode last year, and it's starting to come upon a year's anniversary now, so I got to really get into it and get it done. But I do have another Smash or Trash episode done, and Frank does have a section in it where he's talking about cameras. So I got to get that on there, you know.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great, because yes, anyone again interested in the current Baltimore scene or anything, to check out the first episode of Smash or Trash TV. There's a great extended interview with George and Leanna, which is fantastic, and of course a spotlight on the Lee Doll movies with Luana Lee, which I know is a great family favorite of the Baltimore indie scene.
Yeah, and we hope that you get to check those out sometime. I mean, one of your favorites, Count Gore, is a guest, and of course I get to play dad guys all the time. So it's a little different. It's family friendly, but I'd say you and the guys check it out when you can, because just for laughs, if nothing more. Just have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen music videos, I've seen clips on YouTube, and I think I watched one of them. I think already. So it's one we're going to cover. But that's another thing that I love about the Baltimore indie scene versus other indie scenes is, I mean, first of all, there are hardly any like zombie movies anywhere to be seen, which is great because, my God, have I had my fill of indie zombie movies. Secondly, and I would know I made one before zombie movies were popular or the monster du jour or whatever. I made a zombie film like back in 2001 before anyone was even talking about it. I've had my fill of those. But no, what I like about the Baltimore indie scene is that you get everything. You get monster movies, you get straight horror movies, you get family-friendly movies, you get full-blown musicals, you get dramas. It's really great. Like they're not just hanging their hat on what sells. They're trying to do a whole bunch of stuff down there to please everybody. It's a really great model.
Well, that's what's so much fun about it. And I do remember a week or so ago, just talking to Leanna and George. They really hope that you can make it down sometime and see some of this stuff in person, John, or you and the rest of the Dohlerites. George is sitting there going, "Oh, I hope he can check out the spaceship from Alien Factor in person."
I would love to, Robert. I mean, the chance of me getting down by myself in the next few months, hopefully if I get a job, is very high indeed, because I'm the sort of guy that I'll hop on a bus on a Friday evening and I'll come back on a Sunday evening and whatever. Like, I'll do that without too much problem. In terms of getting the other Dohlerites together, getting us all in a car and getting us all to come down for a weekend, that's a whole other thing.
Well, whenever you can make it down, we're going to be happy to show you or you and the rest of the guys, you know, the locations and get to meet people and get to see the props and the costumes and, you know, just get to know the Baltimore scene even more. So,
yeah, well, I mean, I really want to make it down to Joe's convention. The problem with that is I don't have a job. Like, once I've got a job and I can afford to go.
Absolutely. Well, in your own time, John, obviously, you know, but the invitation is definitely welcome. You'll be coming down with open arms.
Oh, that'd be fantastic, sir. But yes, just to finish up on Snakehead, do you have any favorite scenes? So what sticks out for you in the movie that you really sold you, this new version?
Well, my favorite scene is when Frank's character, Daryl, goes full-blown coward at the end in the refrigerator.
Right.
Because, and I think even some of that was unfortunately trimmed in the scene that you saw because it was even more hysterical. But, you know, he's completely out of it, and the three girls are like, hey, do you have a car? And he's like, of course I have a car. I have a very nice car.
Right.
And, you know, it's just, that was one of my favorite scenes. And obviously seeing all my friends in like little cameos, unfortunate. You'll have to see the screener sometime so you can actually see George Stover speak French.
That would be amazing.
And I don't know if you noticed, but he's dressed exactly like his character from States.
Yes, he is. And I of course I noticed, Robert. I watched it and I was like, he's wearing the Reverend's beret. It's ridiculous. I don't know why he's wearing a beret or why it has a crucifix on it or why he's being attacked by a cat. Wielded by a crazy man, but yes, it was a fantastic cameo by George. I thought that you have to have if you've got George and Leanna in your film, it's a hit. Now I loved being introduced to Frank Lama as an actor. I thought he was great. In fact, I thought all the acting was strong, and obviously I can't wait to check out The Fear of Clowns, a couple of movies that he is in as well. But yeah, you have George and Leanna, your film's a hit. That's kind of how it goes.
Oh yeah, well, and it was, you know, like I said, it was fun with that, and I thought the effects at the end, the CGI effects going across the town, I thought for the budget that was incredibly well done. So yeah, the latter half when the crap's hitting the fan, it's like this is a good creature feature.
It's a great film. It reminded me a lot of in Shaun of the Dead, when the first 45 minutes are kind of high comedy as it builds slowly, and there is the odd attack here and there. But the last 45 minutes, certainly in this movie, the one-liners and intentional jokes fall away, although there is still some intentional comedy in Frank's performance and some others' performance, and some intentional comedy with the fish and the attacks. But it becomes a big, gory climax. I mean, there is people being killed left, right, and center. I'm surprised there's anyone left in the town at the end of it. Like, at the end of it, he says something about, is that cafe open on route whatever, because we want to go and get breakfast. And I'm thinking, is there anyone alive to be running the cafe or cooking in the cafe? Because everyone seemingly gets killed in this film. I mean, it's a real bloodbath at a certain point.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, it's kind of funny because you get the feeling that it's somewhat family-friendly, but yet there's all this gore being thrown around.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to give anybody nightmares, and it's not going to, but there, I mean, saying that, there is some effectively creepy sequences, and, you know, while the gore is played more as a sort of, grand guignol kind of spoof,
right.
There are some effectively eerie sequences at certain points. And I wasn't sure about the whole Snakeheads having predator vision. I'm not sure where that came from. But
oh, boy, yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, well, they take from the best, John. They take from the best. But one thing to look for the next time you watch it is, the scene where the Snakehead's looking at the missing poster of the sheriff?
Oh, yes, and chuckling, yes.
Yeah, look at the shadow. You can see that it's only a wrist-length arm puppet.
Puppet, yeah. No, I mean, again, I thought the effects were great. I thought the fact that they built so many puppets were great. I thought that the fact that it was filmed over 3 years but cut together pretty well was very good. I would recommend this movie to B-movie fanatics, monster creature feature fanatics, comedy fanatics. I would recommend this movie to all of them. And I think that in terms of the CGI, it's no worse than what you see on the Sci-Fi Channel every week. It's really not. It's got that quality to it. And the benefit of this movie versus those movies is they've written an intentionally funny script where they know exactly what they're doing, and there's some, rather than sitting there mocking the movie for mocking's sake, you're laughing with the film because it's intentionally well written, and that's what's the best thing about it.
I have to agree with you there. I think the only thing I wish had come with the DVD would have been maybe behind the scenes and a commentary, but otherwise it's fantastic to watch, and I agree well, let's put it this way. The Snakeheads are definitely better than a certain helicopter we know that appeared in the movie. So.
Right. Although we love that in our own special way. Okay, Robert, let's finish up then. So did you have any more on the movie you wanted to mention?
It's just that I'm glad that in its current incarnation, it's a really fun creature feature. I think it's well paced. I don't remember any slow parts. I do wish that some of the funny stuff had been left in, and at some point, I do want to show you the screener so you can see some of those bits that you missed. But no, I hope that this finds a wider audience. Hopefully this will pique some people's interest.
Completely, there's an audience for this movie. People go nuts over this crap like Sharknado, and here's a movie that is every bit as fun, but has a legitimately funny script, has some great acting in it, and it's put together with real love and attention. So, I would hope there would be a huge audience for this if they re-released it it would need the right packaging. I don't think they need to change the movie, but it would need the right kind of sci-fi style Corman-esque packaging. But if it had that, it could do very well, I think.
I agree. I don't think their current packaging really sells it to me as to, what the movie's about, because it's nothing like what you see on the front. This is a fun movie, and you basically got a mouthful of teeth on the front. It's like, well, maybe you need to show the things in action or something, and have maybe the commentary and behind the scenes. And I think this would be a nice little cult hit for them.
Yeah, you would need, the European Vacation, Army of Darkness, pulp novella cover, with the guy holding the fishing rod aloft and so on, is fun and very well painted, but it's kind of overdone. You would need, I think you would need an image that highlighted the snakehead, so had a full image of the fish and the teeth and the snapping and the so on the front cover, with possibly, the speedboat with Frank's character standing on it and Gunnar Hansen standing next to him, or something like that. Something simple with the emphasis on the monster and here's your guest star kind of thing. If you had that on the front cover, as much as I honestly hate those front covers, I think the front cover to Sharknado and stuff like that has no imagination. But, however, if that's what they're doing to sell them, you've got to jump on board. That's just the nature of the beast. And, they were talking about a lot of the distribution they were looking at back in the mid-2000s. The guys were telling them what they were telling Joe and Don, which is, you don't have tits in the film, we're not going to distribute it, you know?
Yeah, and that is kind of an interesting thing. I mean, wrapping it up, it's like, it's family friendly, but it's not family friendly. It's kind of John Water-esque, and but it's like they didn't want to go there. It's like it's the old, the old parable of, well, as long as it doesn't have tits and ass in it, the kids can watch it.
Right, no, completely, which the irony is far more than they should be looking at violence and gore, but I mean, that's just, that's probably my European sensibility. But the thing is, though, the interesting thing about the Sci-Fi Channel movies, is that they can't have bare breasts in them or anything like that. So what they have is they have people walking around in bikinis and things, which is as close as they can kind of get to being able to screen that stuff on telly.
I was just going to say, John, what they do is they do shoot extra scenes for when they release it to DVD. And that usually has the TNA in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I haven't seen many of them outside of Netflix, really, so I don't know what versions I'm getting. But the thing that Snakehead has, and where they what it has, is it has that old kind of Mel Brooks feel. There's a little bit of innuendo and a little bit of suggestion, and there's the scene where the mayor feels like in order to compete in the party, she kind of sorts her cleavage out. But I mean, there's not you know what I mean, and that's all fine, that's all suggestive without being on the nose. I think Mel Brooks is sort of an apt comparison. He never went all out and had full blown breasts in it, but there was plenty of suggestion,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I mean, the one thing I didn't get is what exactly was the relationship between her and her assistant. That was just bizarre.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that scene was where she tied him up and tore his chest hair off with duct tape. I wasn't 100% sure what that was, what was going on there, but fair enough.
Well, what they do in their off hours is their business.
True. Everyone has to have a hobby and or fetish.
Oh gosh. Okay. But no, it's if we were going to rate this, I'm not going to pull a B movie bargain bin, but I have to say, out of 10, I think I now give this 7 or 8.
Yeah, I would go for an 8 and 8.5. I mean, I'm always impressed at also the presentation of these things. So I feel the finished product plus the way it's presented it gives it at least an 8, if not an 8.5. On the Dohler scale, we tend to do it out of 5. So normally Dohler's films, we're always joking between sort of 4.5, 4.75. We're all trying to outdo each other. This would definitely get probably a 4 out of 5 on the Dohler scale, or a 4.25 on the Dohler scale, I would say.
I'd say that's fair. I mean, it's a very professional movie. It's obvious to me they spent money on this because it's got a huge look to it, and it's just a lot of fun. Hey, people out there, check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out. I think what it is more than money is I think that they took their time on it. I think that's what it is. I mean, I got from talking to them that it was sort of 6 years in the making and distributing, really, this movie.
He had done both Fear of Clown movies in the time that it took. Yeah, he wasn't getting a lot of sleep, I think.
I just wanted to wrap up by saying, okay, so you're running Smash or Trash, and we've got part 2 of the TV show coming up soon. But what are you working on? What are you doing? Where can people find you? Pimp, promote, and all that good stuff.
Okay, well, let's see. What I'm busy on right now, John, as some people may or may not know, is I'm doing behind the scenes of the movie Crawler, so that's been taking a lot of my time. Crawler being the last sci-fi movie that Joe Ripple and Don Dohler did, so I'm working on that. But they can get a hold of me through smashertrashindiefilmmaking.com, and hopefully there will be a big update on there soon. And I can also be found on Facebook. And I don't do the Twitter too much, but, you just have to look me up. It's not hard to find me. So I'm just trying to keep indie stuff going. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. You're also prepping or building sets and film, I understand.
Prepping up? I got a huge beat there, but I think what you just said to me was I'm prepping my own film?
Prepping, doing model work, set work, casting and things on your own film.
Oh, yeah, yes. Well, I'm going to try something a little arty with that, John. It's not going to be a film. It's going to be a graphic novel that comes with a DVD of select scenes from the movie, or the movie that would have been. So I'm going to, making indie movies is getting a little tougher and tougher as far as not making them, but being successful with them. So I'm going to try a little bit of a different art form. It's still going to require actors and stuff. And hopefully I'll get to work with the likes of Dick Dizell and George and Leanna and many other people, get a cameo from you. But, just going to try a little something different.
Well, we'll look forward to that, and you keep us posted, sir, and let us know when that'll be available or what the procedure is with that. I would also urge everyone to obviously join the Dr.Dohler group on Facebook, which you are keeping alive and curating at the moment, as well as the new Deadhead.
Yeah, I'm not the curator, but you can't keep me off there. I'm surprised I haven't been banned.
People love John.
Thank you so much.
Keeping it alive, sir.
And
it's been a pleasure, sir. It's been fun.
All right. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to when this goes live, and you just keep cranking up the podcast there, John, and I'm going to continue to keep listening. So goodbye, everybody. Continue to listen to John Cross.
All right, sir. Thanks so much, Robert, and you continue to do a great job down there in Baltimore, and best of luck and all our thoughts with you guys, all right? Take it easy.
Take her easy, John. Take care.
Snakehead, and it bit off my left arm. Well, sometimes love is just like that. It can cause you pain and harm. But my heart still beats for my snakehead. It's part fish and it's part snake. And if it ever swam away and left me, well, I know my little heart would break. Well, they won't let me marry my snakehead. Well, that's something the Lord won't abide. But it don't mean a thing. We're living in sin. It's just in public we must hide. Well, I can't stop it scurrying out of the house late at night to meet up with its other snakehead pals. And they terrorize the town eating babies and molesting all the prettiest gals. But please don't you judge me. No, don't you mock my love for my snakehead. Well, it's solid as a rock. Well, I know you may think that it's fishy, and you just can't understand. But it is my sweet, sweet snakehead, and it's loving me. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, my snakehead ran trout, and they fold themselves a bed. Man Snakehead on bass, the cop up on drums, and the old trout played guitar and sang. Then on the road, Man Snakehead had many lovers. I was left in its adulterous way. But I don't regret my love for that amphibious fish. To do so would be a mistake. Oh, my sweet Snakehead, come back to me. Oh, my sweet Snakehead, can't you see? I forgive you, my Snakehead, for your uncontrollably violent lust. Chew me and take me, bite me and scar me, but take me back you must. Oh, my Snakehead, oh, come back to me. My Snakehead, whoa, come back to me. 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 Won't you come back? Come back, come back. Well, Snakehead, please. Well, I don't think I can go on back. I wish I was dead. My life has no meaning. I'm climbing the ceiling without you, my sweet Snakehead. Crying into my lap at night. Whoa, sweet Snakehead. Oh, sweet Snakehead, come back to me, baby. You know what I like.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?